Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being patient with me for a second week in a row. Uh, I'm changing things around a little bit, and this is based off of some of the discussions I had with some of you last week. And by the way, thank you. I really like it that a lot of you are reaching out to me and discussing with me what how you're enjoying this project and this course. That does mean a lot to me because I put a lot into it. Additionally, we had a lot of people show up to the office hour on the morning of Halloween, which was Sunday, the 31st. And it was a great interaction between students in this class and my graduate students in my 783 class. And so I'll be hosting an office hour similar to that going forward on Thursday evenings at 8 and Sunday evenings at 8. And that's Central Time if you're in a different time zone. And beware of daylight savings time ending this coming Saturday, Sunday morning. So hopefully you set your clocks back and then you'll arrive on time. Also wanted to let you know that based on what some of the people had said in that office hour, I decided to move some content around. So this week we are going to have some guest speakers and we're going to talk about medical case management. Instead, I would like to speak about outlier analyses because I tried something, and that's why things are so late. For the last 48 to 72 hours, I've been analyzing 10 different data sets, including the one we're working on, to try and give you a more clear, more objective picture of the outlier. And I don't have an answer, but at least when we discuss it, I think it'll help. I also want to dig a little bit deeper into the Department of Workforce Development and the Wisconsin Compensation Rating Bureau websites, so you can draw more information for not only understanding the data, but then in writing your paper. And then we'll get into the annual trending and forecasting. I will be using our data set, so I'm breaking my original promise of only doing it for 1 week, and I'm going to do it for 2. So forgive me. I'm sure you guys are like, yes, that'll be a lot better. So what is an outlier? And I know you can't see my face right now. That's good because I'm ugly, but if you look up how to identify outliers in the statistical outliers, it gives you different types of statistical approaches. But what's interesting is they assume normality. And one thing I've been trying to get across to you all semester is that injury data, work comp data, is not normal. It's more asymptotic. So we've got this picture on the screen of values. Ours, this big thing goes to 0, and then it kind of goes out. What they're saying is this piece over here on the right, that is an outlier. So do we graph things? Do we create a distribution and then look for anything that does not contribute to a continuous slope upward till it's a top and comes back down? Or is there a way we can calculate it numerically? And that's the question I posed myself. If you go, what is a statistical outlier? You get all these great pictures, and it is all visual, but it's still predicated on normality. Even these graphs here, everything here is predicated on normality, which we cannot assume with our data set. So I was curious if there'd be anything else, and this is going way too slow, of course, but here's the normal curve. And one thing I'm going to show, I actually did a calculation in Excel doing the first quartile, the third quartile, and then what would be the upper bound and the lower bound. Our lower bound is 0 because it butts right up against the 0. But what it shows is that that's also a not usable, a viable approach to this. And we may just be using my original. So if you already started it, probably fine. So let's shift gears here really quickly and go into the Department of Workforce Development because there's some things that I want to play with. So we can go in here, we can click on workplace injury data, workplace injury, and we can get to the work comp stuff. If you haven't already, I would click there. In addition to that, and we're going to be talking about medical case management and hearing from some guest speakers, you can go to the vocational rehabilitation page on DWD and get some additional information. There's this interesting Vocational Rehab 101. I would watch this video. I'm not going to assign it to you at this point. At this point, it's just voluntary. I'll probably assign it later. Let's go back to the workplace injury, which is our workers' compensation. I had referred to this before. I brought you here before. If you haven't watched this video, go ahead. But there's some good information here. There were some issues with how, what's the difference between the different types of disabilities, information about benefit and wage. And in the review video, I'll talk about some of the things that came up through the quiz. Yeah. So what we want to do is we want to find the data that I had shown you earlier in the semester, so we can just kind of look at what are some of the costs, because now we can actually start comparing what some of the costs are when it comes to injuries compared to what we have in ours. So I just clicked on the safety program. There's some things you can read, and it's fantastic. It's great. Going down here, Dave Lex, I may actually ask him to speak. He's a friend of mine, Dave. He's a member of was a member of the Wisconsin chapter of ASSP, so I've known him for many, many years. He's a great guy. So he's listed here as a resource. Department of Administration, I actually reached out to Jake Lowell, who is the manager for the Department of Administration's Work Comp Division. And he may speak to us as well. So, and I had provided to you the Bureau's comparative review a few weeks ago. You may or may not remember. Let's go to the injury statistics. And the statistics go up to 2018. Why just to 2018? Because things that were filed in 19 and 20 either are still being analyzed or still being closed. They don't want to publish data until a majority of the claims have been closed. Otherwise, they're just going to keep accumulating payments. And so what they call that are green. So similar to the calculation of the EMR uses 3 years rolling averages, but not including the current or the previous, same sort of idea. But we can go into 2018, and here we've got the work comp claims for 2018. Total number, total amount of benefits paid, and this is indemnified payment. So there may be some other things that aren't included here. This is just basic. And then the average. So the average is about 10,000. We should compare that to what we have for an average, right? Of course, we know that the average is highly influenced by the most expensive claims. That's all the information they give us, though. And so, again, I think it's unprofessional, unethical to report things like average when the data set does not meet the basic assumption of normality. Then we can go in and we can look at the actual causes of injury and compare their averages to ours, which I think is pretty cool. We can do the same thing with body part. I told you that's not very helpful. Nature of injury, we could do it with those too. And I'm going to show you a sort of analysis I had done that I've added 2 more years. I added 17 and 18 to it, and I need to dig into it deeper, but I'll share it with you. Let's shift gears and go to the Wisconsin Compensation Rating Bureau. And by the way, go to DWD and challenge yourself to find information. There's a lot there. A lot you can do to compare what we're doing to what is required here in Wisconsin. Another thing I'd like you to do is look up the class code. We're going to in a little bit here, we're going to look at the outliers. And the outliers have a pretty common 4-digit class code. Type it in here, and you can see what the rate is, and you can get other information. And I think that's awesome, that we can get more information about it. Other things you can do is there's these FAQs, there's manuals. If we go to FAQ, we can get more information about the experience rating or the experience modification rating. And some of you had indicated that it was unclear to you. Go here and read about it. This is the organization, this is the entity that calculates the EMR, that calculates the base premiums in order to generate what is the adjusted premium for companies. We can look at worksheets. I think there's a contact, let's see, not press, contacts? I'd swear that I saw, is it helpful info, industry links? Yes, found it. So this compensation data exchange, if you click on this, you'll get to some videos, and it's really interesting. You click on online training, and you can look at things like your experience. Look at, they've got the intro to the experience rating, the search, view ratings, printing a rating worksheet. They talk about Wisconsin, Minnesota, Michigan, create PDF of ratings. Cool stuff here. You just got to dig around a little bit. So class code lookup, manuals. I think this is where you can find a basic manual. Here it is. There's a premium algorithm. Should we look at that real quick? It's 2 pages. So you can see some of the information. on how things are calculated. See, it's payroll times 100. Yeah. So it's all the information you need is here. So you don't wait for me to define or refer to or force you to go look something up. Please come here and look. And look, injury description tables. We looked at the cause last week, I think. Click here, and you can see this is how they break it all down. And we had just looked at some of the data. We got the class code manual, and look, you can even see hazard groups. So if we look up our number, we can look up what the hazard group is. And I think it's like 6504, but yeah, this video is getting a little bit long. Let's see if 6504 shows up. If that's just from the top of my head because I was playing around with it. 6504, it's a hazard class C. I don't know what that means or what a hazard group C means. I don't know. So that's something that I'm going to be looking up, and I think it'd be great if you all looked it up too. So yeah, that's really what I'd like you to do is get in and play with the DWD website, look up some of the data, get familiar with it, find the manuals that are going to help you, because I can't cover everything, obviously. We're really focusing on doing the data analysis, but I'm hoping that the data analysis makes things more real for you because this is real data. And as you ask questions and inquire with that, use these websites, branch off from these websites. And I do have a few additional things that I'd want you to look at and read for this week. But that's all I'm going to cover for this particular video. I'll be getting into the demonstration videos coming up next.